2025 could be the year the Dolphins finally crash and burn or shock everyone. This team is stacked with superstar talent, but behind the scenes, it seems like tensions are rising, the defense is undergoing a massive makeover, and their head coach might already be on the hot seat. Before you either write them off or crown them as contenders, let's break down exactly where Miami stands heading into this season. And if you're new here, I post NFL breakdowns like this all year, so hit that subscribe button. I read and reply to every single comment, so if you've got a hot take on the Dolphins, drop it below. I want to hear it. So with that, let's look at the 2024 recap. Last season was a roller coaster for Miami. They finished 8-9, missed the playoffs, and saw their 3-year postseason streak come to an end. A brutal 2-6 start gave way to a 6-3 run down the stretch, a reminder to everyone that this team doesn't quit. But momentum wasn't enough for them. A decisive Week 18 loss to the Jets, 32-20, officially shut the door on their season. Along the way, there were a few bright lights, but there were just as many late-game collapses and missed opportunities. Inconsistency, though, was their biggest enemy. It left more question marks than answers heading into this offseason. So, the Dolphins' offseason started with some big leadership changes. Safety Javon Holland moved on, veteran defensive tackle Calais Campbell departed, and Pro Bowl offensive tackle Teron Armstead retired, all taking experience from this locker room. Then they traded corner Jalen Ramsey, but in a blockbuster move, they also acquired all-pro safety Minkah Fitzpatrick in return, immediately adding a cornerstone for the revamped secondary. On offense, Miami bolstered the trenches by signing guard James Daniels and tackle Larry Borom. They added depth with receiver in Nick Westbrook-Akine, running back Alexander Madison, linebackers Willie Gay Jr. and KJ Britt, and tight end Pharaoh Brown. In the cornerback room, they brought in veterans Jack Jones and Mike Hilton, though Kader Kohu will miss the season after tearing his ACL during training camp. The defensive line got a major boost too, with defensive tackle Jack Steeler signing a massive 3-year, $64 million extension, becoming the highest paid defensive player on this roster, very deservingly. Now, taking a closer look at the offense as a whole, they made it very clear in Miami they wanted to improve the offensive line. Bringing in guys like Daniel and Borom help, but Austin Jackson is going to be sidelined for several weeks with a lower leg injury. Now, head coach Mike McDaniel confirmed that he is expected to return in time for Week 1, however. The skill positions remain elite with Tua, Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane. They're all still capable of explosive performances and taking over the game, if they can stay healthy and locked in together. Players like Alexander Madison and Westbrook-Akine offer red zone insurance, and special teams will continue to be a plus with punter Ryan Stonehouse remaining as one of the league's best at flipping field position. Now defensively, Miami, in my opinion, looks almost unrecognizable. Cornerstones Jalen Ramsey and Javon Holland are gone, and Kohu's injury leaves a major hole in this secondary. Not an ideal situation to be in when you already have a thin secondary before this injury. But, of course, then came the game changer, adding Minkah Fitzpatrick back. Gives them a true playmaker who can absolutely deliver game-changing turnovers and bring real leadership to the back end. The corners now look like Jack Jones and Mike Hilton, who are, yes, solid vets, but they're not the star power that they lost. Miami has been linked to more additions, such as free agent Rasul Douglas, but nothing has been confirmed yet. Meanwhile, Sealer continues to anchor the interior, as he earned a 78.9 PFF grade in 2024, ranking 12th among interior defenders. He is elite. If the front seven, though, can carry the early load and Minkah can create turnovers, they might just mask these secondary concerns just enough. So, all in all, where does all of this leave the Dolphins in 2025? Honestly, in a far tougher spot than most people realize. The talent is still there on paper, of course, with Tua, Tyreek, Achane. They all give you that kind of explosiveness most teams would die for. But football isn't played on paper, and Miami's glaring weaknesses line up perfectly with some of the strengths of their opponents. First off, let's look at the AFC East. It's not winnable for Miami. Let's stop pretending it is. The Bills have owned this division for years, and even if they've taken some small steps backwards, Josh Allen's ability to take over a game still puts them in tiers above the Dolphins now. Then you've got teams like the Jets, who are not a juggernaut at all, but they match up very well against Miami's current roster. Their pass rush is very good, their corners can go toe-to-toe with Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, and their overall defensive structure is built to frustrate a quarterback like Tua. Then you've got a team like the Patriots, who aren't quite ready to run the division yet, but are clearly on the upswing. They've retooled the defense, they've gotten faster on offense, and they're coached well enough to turn games into ugly, low-scoring dogfights. Exactly the kind of contests Miami tends to lose when the offense isn't firing on all cylinders. Then, zooming out to the rest of the schedule, the road doesn't get any easier. The Bengals had the star power to flat out overwhelm Miami on both sides of the ball. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and that offensive rhythm will test a secondary that, even with Minkah Fitzpatrick, still lacks proven shutdown corners. The Commanders bring a completely different challenge, though. Methodical, physical defense that will choke out big plays and force Miami to sustain long, mistake-free drives, something that's been an issue in recent years. The Steelers are the Steelers. They're always physical, they're always opportunistic, and more than happy to turn a game into a war in the trenches. And, of course, don't sleep on some of the NFC South opponents either. The Buccaneers are gritty, battle-tested, and capable of pulling off wins in games they should lose. They've got enough pieces on defense to make life difficult for Miami's offensive line, and they're disciplined enough to not hand away free points. The Falcons may be young, with names like Michael Penix Jr., Bijan Robinson, and Drake London, but they're loaded with speed, size, and talent, and they can punish a defense that's still figuring out its chemistry. And overall, that's the real issue that I have with Miami. They just don't feel like a team that's gelled. You can have all the individual stars in the world, but if the unit can't play as one, if the coaching staff can't maximize what they have, the ceiling comes down very fast. Right now, I see a team that could steal a few wins early if the offense starts hot, but I feel like it's one of those offenses that likely can fade away once the grind of the schedule hits. And given how perfectly this slate is designed to exploit Miami's defensive holes and test their mental toughness, an 8-9 finish feels not only realistic, but potentially optimistic. To surpass this, they'd need a secondary transformation overnight, a pass rush that can create chaos weekly, and a level of focus from Tua and Tyreek that we haven't seen consistently over a full season. And without that, it's going to be a long, uphill climb just to stay in the playoff picture. If Miami shocks everybody and proves me absolutely wrong, I don't think it's going to be because of star power. It'll be because they survived the schedule and found their identity defensively. Right now, though, their toughest opponent isn't going to be the Bills or the Commanders or teams like that. It's going to be the own personalities on their roster and how well they can all hold up together across this unforgiving stretch of a season. That was my thought on the Dolphins for the 2025 season. I want to hear your prediction in the comments. I respond to every single one. And if you like this breakdown, hit subscribe. Don't miss my mid-season check-in and playoff forecast coming later in the fall. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.